Right here in Seminole, there's
Good afternoon. Hello, is everybody here? Can you hear me? Is this thing on? All right, welcome to the new 2019 open house here at Seminole Fire Department. Every year when we do these events, we kind of finish up the day with an extrication demonstration. Some of the stuff that we do out on the street every day. Every year, we put our trucks on the road about 700 times a year in motor vehicle crashes. Probably a third of that time we actually will cut up a car or try to extricate a patient out of the vehicle. Our biggest goal is to get that patient out of that vehicle and into the hospital into surgery within an hour. They call that the golden hour. The automotive industry does a really great job of designing vehicles with safety in mind, your safety. But when we go to a vehicle accident, they don't necessarily take into account our safety. We have to overcome that, and you'll see some of the things that we do, some of the techniques we deploy, we'll look out for our safety. When we show up on the scene, we'll size up the situation, we'll look around the car, we'll do a complete 360, and just make sure that the scene is safe for us. Our number one goal is safety. Who do you think we're most interested in, number one, to protect? Who do you think that is? Us. Us. We're no good to you trying to rescue you out of a vehicle if we're not safe. We do that simultaneously. We look out for your safety as well. And our goal is to get you out of the car as quickly as possible. This year, our shift here at B Shift is going to be demonstrating their expertise in vehicle extrication for you. I can't even. So, Scott Edinger, Lieutenant Edinger, step up, please. This Lieutenant Scott Edinger, he's put 33 years of his heart and soul into his fire department. This will be his last extrication demonstration for you guys. Give him a big round of applause. You guys didn't come here to hear me talk, so without further ado, Scott, go for it. So basically, it's a big communication thing. We talk a lot, we're on the scene. You'll hear Scott. Scott talks a lot. He lets his people know what's going on. He's given him their assignments. He's got a plan in his mind how he's going to attack the vehicle. As you see, he's going to do a quick 360. We're going to look for a couple things. We're going to make sure there's no fuel on the ground. We're going to make sure there's no power lines on the ground. And most importantly, we're going to make sure there's no patients on the ground. At the same time he walks around, he's looking inside the vehicle. I'm going to identify how many patients he has. Today we're going to have for you at least one patient in the car. Since the inception of extrication tools, if you look here, you see everything now we have is battery powered. We used to use what they call heavy hydraulics. We had hydraulic pumps that pumped fluid in, and we use that around here, so you'd hear a lot of loud motors going. You don't hear that anymore. These are actually regular, like DeWalt batteries that we use that will generate over 100,000 pounds of spreading and cutting force.
All right, make patient contact, Chris. Yes, sir. All right.
The first idea is to stabilize the vehicle. How silly would we look if we didn't stabilize the vehicle and while we were operating, that thing kind of just like rolled away.
All right, air it down, guys. Get that sucking that on, Chris. Get that patient covered up.
Again, lots of good communication. So before we actually enter the vehicle, we're going to make that vehicle safe for not only the patient, going to make it safe for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to disassemble that vehicle and allow access to get the patient out a little more freely, a little more easily. Years ago, when we first started extrication, you would see somebody with an axe chopping glass. At the same time you're chopping glass, you're actually getting glass in on the patient. So now we have tools to do that, allow us to do that, and plus we cover up the patient while the patient's inside.
Start taking the post, Bobby. This ain't close as the last.
How many of you have regular Milwaukee Sawzalls at home? How about DeWalt? That's all we're taking this car apart with today. It's DeWalt batteries, Milwaukee Sawzalls, and lots of hand tools.
Hold that post. Cutting last post.
That's 4 minutes on the clock right now. Look how fast they got that roof off. Now we're going to pop the doors on that side of the car to get the patient out.
See collar. Got it coming.
Somebody keep the time? We're at the 6-minute mark. If you notice, one of the first things we did before we even started on this car is we got a paramedic in the car. During the time the patient's being extricated, we always have a paramedic in the car. Somebody explain to them what's going on, how they're feeling, trying to assess the patient, giving them oxygen, giving the things they need. Can you imagine being inside of a car with nobody talking to you and all of a sudden all you hear is twisted metal and everything breaking around you? So it's our job to get inside, keep them calm, keep them reassured, let them know what we're doing.
Alright, spreaders in there, spread that B-post.
Unfortunately, this patient was wearing a seatbelt, so we're good.
Ready with the cutters, if he has a piece, hang him up. Bobby, cribbing check is good, cribbing's in.
How many would like a set of these tools for their workbench? Yeah? Yeah, these are, the batteries are standard DeWalt batteries, basically, and Hearst is actually the manufacturer's particular tool. But these can run anywhere between 10 to 20,000 depending on the tool. And believe us, we could not have done any of this without you. You're our taxpaying citizens. This is what we do. This is what we do for you every day. LKQ, who's on Starkey Road, I don't know if you remember where the Starkey Road Auto Parts is, they donate cars on a regular basis to us. We actually go over there probably at least 2-3 times a week and train there on the vehicles. So we're fortunate in that regard.
Cut it out. Alright, cut down low. There you go.
Good communication. We always work on a plan A and work on a plan B. If something doesn't work, we can't just give up and throw our hands up in the air. We got to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And fortunately, we got tools that have multiple purposes, so they can operate at the same time. Back in the old days, we had what they call the old Hertz system, which was hydraulics. It was a low pressure system. And that was a very, very slow system. We've come a long way. The original Hertz spreader, Jaws of Life. How many heard the term Jaws of Life? That original tool was developed in the 60s. How much do you think it weighed? 300 pounds. 300 pounds. It was actually strapped to the back of a tow truck. It was developed for the Indianapolis 500. What's interesting about the equipment that we use, we're not actually cutting metal. We're not actually, what we're doing is fatiguing metal to see what metal fails first. And most of the time, the metal on a vehicle will fail before those cutters will fail. And one of the things we've done this year, who attended last year? Amy? Last year, what was different? We had the car kind of facing the side, right? Well, we kind of put it this way for a reason, because when we spread metal, anytime we spread metal, parts will fly off. There's springs, metal under tension. So we have it so that you're a little bit more protected. This is sort of our splash zone.
There you go.
Lieutenant Edgar, we have Sunset on the scene. How much time you got left?
5 minutes.
All right, fine. See, it was a lot easier to take the whole side out at one time.
All levels removed, ready to go. Patient being extricated.
Copy that. We do, anytime we get involved in an extrication like this, a lot of times it takes a little more time, and most of the damage is pretty significant. The patient's usually pretty well injured, what they call a trauma alert. You might hear that as county. It happens every day, at least half a dozen times a day. A trauma alert means that this patient needs to be transported to a trauma center. He meets all the criteria for it. So this being a trauma alert, like I said, when the paramedic's in the car, he can do a lot of things. He can start the oxygen, he can start the IVs, he can take blood pressures, he can assess his level of consciousness. His determination determines whether or not patient's been extricated on the way to the hospital in 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Give him a big round of applause. Lieutenant Edgar, take a bow. Thank you.